right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day 151. So, for the standard intro once again, I think as of today it's exactly 2 weeks until the next N13 merits hearing. So fast approaching. The last major release of the terminal block mining game was released on September 10th. That version includes no real visible functional differences for the user, but it has a massive number of refactoring differences in the user interface to make the screen updating a bit more centralized and efficient. The video I was working on for almost a month or so, that was published September 14th. I've published a follow-up commentary. I'm working on trying to get more of them out. I almost started recording the next one today, but I've been trying to figure out a solution where I don't have to just make it more streamlined to actually record, because there's so many limitations of the hardware that I'm working with. Stuff like if I don't there's like a checklist of 10 things I have to do before to actually record. Like one of them is when I mirror the displays, the default refresh rate is too high, so it ends up intermittently blinking. So when I'm recording, it's like blinking on and off, which is basically ruins it. So I have to and because when you mirror the displays, you cannot select the refresh rate in Ubuntu. I have to go into xrand R and add a thing for it and stuff. So I think I've got a reasonable solution today. Oh yeah, and the other major issue is when the UI here in OBS, I have to configure the size of all these things. So I have to configure the input source. And since I'll be using the same computer for the recording, because it's the only one that's fast enough and doesn't have loud fans, I try to if I do normal screen recording, I have to change the input selection, which breaks everything. So anyway, I think I have a decent setup, and I should be able to get recording again tomorrow. So the next goal for these nightly live streams, I'm going to continue working on the terminal block mining game again. The next goal I'm going to work toward is the next release version, which will include formal crafting recipes. So one of the next things I'm working on is a scrollable list menu UI feature. And as for updates on the store, so I someone actually said in the live stream that they were going to try to buy the $2 stickers, and they said it had an issue on mobile, so they were going to try again on desktop, and they seemed pretty sincere about it. So I didn't see any sales, so I went today on there and I looked on the I tried to just buy them myself for $2, and then when I went to go through the checkout, it said the shipping was like $12. There was a $12 shipping option and a $20 shipping option, which I did not add. And then I investigated, and so it's quite confusing, because the way selling on YouTube works is you have to create the product in Shopify with all the Shopify settings, and Shopify has its whole system for shipping classes and shipping countries and all that kind of stuff. And then you connect that to Google Merchant Center, and then Shopify syncs it to Google Merchant Center, but then Google Merchant Center has its own entire facility for setting all this stuff. So I thought that I had, in Google Merchant Center, it asked me for a bunch of shipping details and stuff, which I set. But I didn't realize that there's also, you have to basically set the same thing in Shopify. So it's a like data synchronization problem. I have to just make sure I set as much as possible in Shopify so it syncs over. Yeah, so I deleted those shipping options, and then I went through the process and verified it. So today I can be sure that there's actually a $2 sticker item. And the other thing is, I think, so the first item I sold was just like a digital item, and I'm not sure, but I think, well, I'm not sure about the first item, but I think for the stickers, I think the ad might have only been showing in Canada, that would explain why the conversion rate, why there was no sales for like a week. So that would be good if that was the issue. So I updated that in Shopify, and I think it should be showing the product listing in multiple countries now. But we'll see. There's like analytics and metrics and stuff I can look at. But yeah, setting up, trying to actually sell stuff selling products is a lot of work. Lots of, so many items, so many things to set. I can even see that in Google Merchant Center, there's a bunch of like random shipping data that's wrong, I didn't even write. Yo, Robert, how's it going? Not too bad. How are you? Rob Recht says, hello, sir. How's it going? And Orthoplex 64, once again, you're number one. Before the live stream even started. Yeah, so that's about it for today's update. And there was also just a ton of small things that whittled away the entire day. Setting, there's a bunch of other like subdomains and stuff to set for Shopify, and so much configuration. My boss uploaded some videos into the app script to get a transcript, then loaded the transcripts to ChatGPT to pick out highlights. That's how she grabbed video highlights to use elsewhere. Yeah, I've heard of people using that technique before. Just upload a video to YouTube to use its transcript generation feature. There is actually another like offline. I tried using Google's or Amazon's audio transcribing feature recently. It's relatively easy to use. You can with a few command line with a few simple commands, you can transcribe arbitrary audio. But the catch is it's quite expensive. It's like it's like very expensive. It's like $20 for a couple hours of audio, which is kind of insane when you compare it to how much, like at that rate, it would cost, to transcribe everything on YouTube would probably be like all of the YouTube revenue ever generated. Default user 0 says, this is my favorite live streaming to watch on Linux. Excellent. That's my favorite comment. All right. Game still works. So I've got a few things to change with the behavior of that feature. I should probably test it too a bit more. Nice, it works. What's your distro? Use Arch. Nice. I just use Ubuntu. It's the easiest for getting stuff done, and for doing like streaming and recording and stuff. When I want like audio and video and stuff to work. I don't really want to troubleshoot it, mess with drivers. Now I should try to make that menu a bit more clear. What do you say to the people who call Ubuntu noob distro? Because personally, I do, but I wouldn't call you a noob, because I've learned about random commands from you. In my opinion, every distribution of Linux is there's a reason to use each distribution. Like in a way, I would say that all distributions are kind of actually the same thing, because there's for any distribution you have, there exists a sequence of commands that you could use, probably very haphazardly to like migrate one distribution to another. So theoretically, you could take an Arch just install, and then hash like all of the files. You just keep track of the hash, and then like literally migrate every single file, so you can run a script that transforms your Arch install into an Ubuntu installation. And some of that could be like done through the package manager, and of course there'd be like a lot of really haphazard stuff with like the systemd and udev and all that kind of stuff. I think the reason to use a given distribution is about what it gives you out of the box. So Ubuntu, because it is designed for noobs, I think that actually makes it good, because I don't really care about fixing various driver issues and stuff like that. I do think Arch would make a lot of sense. I've never regularly used it, but I would probably want to be on Arch if I was developing software that relied on other packages, and I occasionally did need like the bleeding edge. So if I was specifically a desktop software developer for stuff on Linux and I need access to the latest packages, because one problem with Ubuntu is it's constantly behind on packages, and I do sometimes have to just install stuff like in some directory in slash opt or whatever, because I need the version that's in the package manager is just too old. And other stuff like Fedora makes sense if I'm doing something with like SE Linux, because I think you can install, well, of course you can install SE Linux on Ubuntu, but it's like dangerous, and you have to be you got to make sure you do it right, and you can lose access to stuff, and then Kali Linux makes sense if you want. So a couple like cracker tools that I've used on occasion, and I can never get them to install on Ubuntu, but they are like pre-installed on Kali Linux. Nightwolf says, saw you stream after a long time. What's up? Not too much. Just getting back into working on the block mining simulation game. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was going to make the menu options a bit more clear. Gustavo Pacheco says, hi, how's it going? I choose Arch, so I can say, I use Arch, by the way. Customization, when I first installed it, was formatting disks, formatted my USBs partitions, instead of my NVMEs, like 4 times. Oh, did you lose data? That's you gotta be careful with that. I remember you when you had 10K subs. Oh, that's the old days. Back when I was making more Linux videos. Sorry if this is a repetitive comment, but what are you coding? I'm coding a terminal-based, I guess I might as well demo it, because this is the part of the stream where YouTube directs a bunch of people to the stream that haven't seen it before. Shopify makes it too easy to spend money. Just now bought that Rigid set from a laptop this time. Oh, yeah, it was you who, but I think you were mentioning you tried to buy it. Did you say, I think you said you were going to do it on desktop. Did you try it last night? Because I'm curious. So when you said you had issues with it, I think on mobile, and I'm curious what the issues were. So today, because I didn't see any sales, I actually went into my Shopify and yeah, so I went into I decided, well, I'll just buy it myself, because I did actually change a couple things. I changed previously I had like the default, Shopify domain they give you, and I changed it to use a CNAME record for my actual domain. So it's like shopify.robertiller.org. And I thought maybe that change broke something. So then I went to try and buy it. And then when it came to the checkout, I realized it was asking for $12 shipping or $20 shipping, which I did not set those values. Those were just some default. So anyway, I did a bunch of investigation. And another thing is, another thing I should ask is, what country are you in? Because I'm not sure if it was even displaying the ads outside of Canada, because I found a bunch when I looked at my other shipping stuff. Okay, US. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I guess it's hard to verify what it looks like outside of here, but anyway, I discovered some settings where I think it was at least probably not displaying like localized currency everywhere. So I went, anyway, it was a positive development. I went through and was saying it couldn't ship to that country. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that would explain it then. That might explain why it was not selling. Is because people were clicking on it, they were trying to buy it, and they couldn't because it was issues in my setup. Oh yeah, someone asked what I'm coding. So I'm coding this terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore and you move around in the terminal. And that's what the game looks like. And there's a link to the GitHub in the description. Wiped my USB before I did it? Okay, that's good. Yeah, sometimes when you're playing around with dangerous commands, it's a rite of passage to like delete the wrong database or something with a command, and then you learn to be a lot more careful on the command line. I use Ubuntu and Windows. Does that mean I'm cooked? Not necessarily. Do you dual boot? In my experience, dual booting Linux with Windows can be dangerous because Windows has a habit of trying to repair the boot shim that's installed by Grub, and sometimes it'll break both operating systems. Just an FYI. Make sure you got backups. That was last week? Okay. Yeah, sorry for wasting your time with that. I think that was a problem. It's very confusing. I don't know if you saw the earlier part of the stream where I talked about it a bit, but the way Shopify works is you set up products in Shopify, and then Shopify syncs the products to basically another thing that does the same concept it's called Google Merchant Center. And then the products that are listed in Google Merchant Center get propagated onto YouTube because those are the connected systems. And I think what I'd done, I didn't realize I had to set like the country. I do recall I did set a bunch of shipping information about in Shopify, but I guess it didn't like propagate, or I just don't know how to use the system very well. So it probably, I thought it was propagated to all countries, but it wasn't. Thought it was just something weird with my phone. No, it's almost certainly something something to do with, well, I guess if you were, I think you said there you were able to successfully buy it, that means, and that was probably the issue. And the other thing, if you had have gone through and successfully bought it, it was asking for like $12 to $20 in shipping, which I didn't set it up that way. Did it before I fully understood how /dev works. I was formatting dev SDA, which is my USB instead of dev NVMe. Drop the shop URL. I think it's Shopify. Well, actually, if you go to my channel, click on one of my videos, you should see an ad underneath of the an ad on YouTube underneath of the video. Actually, you know what? If someone bought the regex sticker, it's probably not there, but I think it's shopify.robertelder.org. I like this game. How many hours have you spent develop this? Quite a few. Many hundreds by now. I mentioned stream every day, but HIO would be a good fit for your game. If he is a lot smaller, I think. And people like niche games or tools. Yeah, I could. I guess for now, I think just doing these YouTube live streams is probably marketing enough. There's a lot of stuff I could do to market. From what I understand, a lot of those. I've heard of people put stuff on HIO and it doesn't really get them much marketing at all. Kajal Patel, you are a mad person. I like cheese. Are you sure that you're not a mad person? Maybe we're all mad. Hope this leads to more sales. People are just having trouble. Yeah, that's that makes me. I was kind of disappointed that the first item I put up got a sale in a couple hours, and then I put another one up and it didn't get any for a while. Because I think what it probably was I probably had things set wrong. So the only people who could buy it successfully were in Canada, and I think probably for the first product, because it had no, I didn't have any, I said there's no shipping for it, then it was able to go faster. But hopefully the shipping issue is fixed, and I guess tomorrow I'll list a $4 item, and we'll see how long that takes to sell. A while back I corrupted Grub. Got it fixed, then running Pac-Man. It removed my init-ram FS. Had to use Grub loopback magic stuff to fix it. So my laptop has been through a lot. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of stuff that I don't want to do. Like I'm past that. That's it's kind of stuff that I know I probably could figure out how to do that stuff, but I want to get work done. Don't recall the shipping charges. I think it just errored out with that country related issue. Yeah, so I think. So here's what I think happened. There was so I create the product in Shopify, and then in Shopify I didn't have a correct like shipping destination set up, and then that synced to Google Merchant Center, and then in Google Merchant Center I indicated the product, the country to sell it correctly, so it probably propagated ads out to all the different countries, and then a bunch of people tried to buy it, and then I guess probably, I don't know if they, maybe you could, I guess probably it was on like the checkout page, it probably said like, this product does not ship to your country, and that's because you were on the Shopify page, and the Shopify system did not know that it could ship to those countries. So it's honestly, it's kind of it's a really very confusing system. The fact that like Google Merchant Center, it's basically Google's competitor to Shopify. So it has a duplication of all the settings and stuff, and also its own totally own way of doing things. But I'm figuring it out. Found it via Google. Excellent. You're too popular. Everything in your shop is sold out. Yep. Yeah. I guess tonight I will add a $4 regular expressions sticker pack, and we'll see how long that takes to sell now that I actually have it fixed. Bots might have blocked my post. Try sending direct link. Yeah, I think it won't. It won't let you send links in chat, which is probably for the best. You have fixed your situation with your landlord, try to evict you, or you're now in a different location. I currently, in exactly 2 weeks, is the next N13 merits eviction hearing. So that's the hearings have started. We've already had one hearing, and this is going to be the second hearing to talk about the N13 merits. And there could even be another hearing after that. So it's been 2 years since this whole process started. I love bringing my Arch laptop to school. People say I'm hacking during startup, probably because the messages go by the screen. Yeah, you gotta go into your grub and disable quiet splash so you can see all the status. Anyone who uses Linux loves seeing the messages go by. Yeah, I always want to see them too, because sometimes it's actually useful. Like if you boot it up, sometimes if you boot the system up and there's actually something like if the boot process hangs, that'll allow you to debug what's going on, because you can look at what's on the screen. But if it doesn't show that, then will you add another or? I don't want to pay. That's a big number I can't read. 230 30 something cent for sticker shipping. I'll probably add right. I guess right now I'm just testing things out, because I kind of expected I would have a bunch of glitches with the process, and there's other stuff like the issue about not being discovering how it works. Like I didn't, when I first started it, I had no idea how it would how the whole system would work, with it syncing from Shopify into Google Merchant Center and stuff. But now that I understand that, I think what I'm actually going to do, I can't sell digital products through YouTube or through Merchant Center, but I can put them on Shopify, so I can so that I'll probably just have some shippable products that appear as ads under my videos, and that'll get people onto the store. And then once people are on the store, then I can also sell some digital items for the game, which will be like feature upgrades and implementing features and stuff, and some new aura types. I wonder if your landlord will give up at some point. Yeah, I don't know. It's questionable. The cost of rent has gone down a bunch lately, so the return on investment for evicting people successfully has gone down. Yesterday it was useful because it somehow got into infinite loop trying to shut down my disks. So let me know. Yeah, that's why one of the first things I do when I do a fresh install, I always disable quiet and splash. What was that grub option you told to enable disable? If you I think if you just go into the file, I think it's usually etc default and then grub, and I think it's like grub something _ command. Usually there's the word quiet in splash, and quiet means don't show out all of the information at boot time, and the splash is just remove the splash screen. But it sounds like you probably already do that if you did that, if you saw the boot up info. I sent an inquiry via your store. Excellent. Actually, that's another thing I noticed. Is I'm getting a massive amount of spam, of like kind of weird spam, of like people saying like, yo, is this do you need some help with the store and stuff? And like they're all like they're from people, I guess, role playing as like consultants, but they're all from like random miscellaneous Gmail addresses. They look so unprofessional. Any opinion on the hype with Amarki getting mentioned in podcasts? My feed's late. I've never even heard that. OMARCHY. I have no idea what that is. Where can we find your online store? Can you ship to Espana? Probably. Currently there's no products for sale. I'm sold out of everything. It should be store. I think it's Shopify. Shopify.robertelder.org. When I have some items available, there'll be a link under all my videos. Sell FF Landlords sticker. Yeah, I could have some stickers about landlords. We don't stand this landlord. Yeah, he's not very cool. Thank you for the $2. Hey Chad, got my PMP test tomorrow. Wish me luck. PMP, what's that stand for? SEO expert emails. Just block. Yeah, the thing is that a lot of them come from totally random addresses, and they're all just like very poorly worded. They have like they'll have like no subject and like bad English, and don't need luck if you study hard. That's true, unless the professor puts questions on it that they didn't tell you to study for. It's a good idea. Sell F Landlord t-shirt. I don't know. To be honest, I'm I'm not even anti-landlord. We need landlords to exist. Like I think mom and pop landlords are fine, and there's actually I think in my video about productivity, I talked a bit about how terrible it is for landlords in this country, and that's one of the reasons things are getting worse. Is that honest landlords are getting out of the business because the whole market is just, it's the housing market is becoming increasingly hostile to honest people, both landlords and tenants. So more and more of the housing ends up in like whoever's willing to run the places for the cheapest possible cost. That seems to be where things are going. I mean, it's our housing situation is so completely messed up now because we also have our economy was basically totally based on these pre-construction financing deals, and that used to be a sure thing where people would always make money, but now that is crashing extremely hard, and there's people like who put like $80,000 down on a condo thinking it would just go up and they'd flip it on pre-assignment, and then now it's like completely underwater. So they started with an $80,000 investment, and like this one guy, he's trying to back out of it, and he's getting sued for $1 million after having put 80,000 into it. So he like invested 80,000, but now he lost $1 million. And new constructions are going to like very close to zero in the near future in Canada because there's no way to finance anything. Project manager professional, unlimited meetings. Nice. I'm a landlord of 4 units, a mom and a pop. And Robert's take is spot on. We don't stand this landlord. We should charge less for risks, like my 9 months of squatting being tolerated. Yeah, there's I don't know. I mean, I could say a lot about how housing should be changed. Honestly, I should probably make that video at some point. Housing crisis is now a Western problem. Not only Canada, US and Europe, developed world. Yeah, like how did every single country just decide to like, devolve at once? This is not a complicated problem, and it's kind of the most important problem. If people can't live anywhere, how are they going to be productive? From the interwebs, DHH designed Omarkey to be a developer's Linux desktop. As such, comes with the carefully selected tools, shell aliases, themes, and shortcuts. Omarkey to be a developer's Linux desktop. So it's a distribution of Linux. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never heard about it. In Brazil, it's a crisis also. Regulations too strong. Yeah, 100 years ago, we could build housing, no problem. What is foreshadowing? Robbie saying NPM libraries could be full of malware. And next week, large NPM author was compromised and all the code had malware injected. Yeah, sometimes it's it's very, very sad and lonely being a visionary. Nobody heeds your warnings. You just have to sit back and watch people make mistakes. Not just the Western world experiencing housing issues. I don't know. I mean, at least if you live in a less developed country, you can like legally build your own house in the woods, and like the government won't come after you. Apparently for Arch users. On the same page, for now, to install Omarchy, must first install Arch Linux, then run Omarchy setup script. Interesting. Yeah, it's no comments on that. I haven't ever I even come across it online. Do you have a Brazilian CPF number, Robert, or to use the number from your Miku doll? No, but I did a few Kickstarters, and I had several customers in Brazil who bought a couple of things from me. And I think I can't remember where. Actually, I think it might be in the Kickstarter UI. There was a field for like shipping, and then people were like entering this Brazilian CPF number, and I was like, what is this? Never heard of this. So I Google it, and I'm like, oh, this is something I have to do. And actually, it was that was actually at the height of the COVID pandemic. And I remember I actually mailed something to one of the Brazilian customers, and 2 years later, the thing that I mailed to Brazil bounced, and it came back through my door, and it had all these like undeliverable stickers on it and stuff. Just checked my grub config. Splash is disabled, but I also resized my kernel command line log level. So I put 25 or something, entered verbose. Yeah, I could probably get into configuring mine more. I just haven't had a need. I usually just disable quiet splash, and that's enough. I'm running Omarchy installed from a live ISO. No need to install Arch first. It's a Giphy info and press OK once. What exactly is it? I've never heard of it. I'm always skeptical about new tools that like take over your system. Is it something to do with AI? All these AI tools to like historically you wouldn't just give some random script control over your computer, but now people are letting these AI agents just like crawl through their entire system and look at all their files. It's pretty sketchy to me. You can't order DoorDash without it. Wow, I thought it was just for it was only for like imports, for like packages and stuff, for getting through customs. But as a rough, the government is tracking your DoorDash purchases. If you start ordering too much unhealthy food, they're going to come after you. A lot more viewers today. No. Yeah, it does seem like there is. Michael Parker says, you think. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but I do think. Just randomly gets mentioned as if people must know what it is. Yeah, I don't. It might be some kind of like new venture capital backed thing, and there's a bunch of people just spamming it on podcasts and stuff, and that's their whole marketing thing is just talk about it on podcasts as if it's like the next best thing that everyone's using. You a cat or a dog person? Or does the landlord not let you have one? I am a cat person, but I don't have any pets right now. Omarki is a distro catered towards developers. Creator of this distro, DHH, is also the creator of Ruby on Rails. Oh, okay, that's where the notoriety comes from then. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's it's like a recent thing. He's has a business venture in mind around it. I need money. I suffer too much. No solutions for me. Yeah, I need some money too. If you find a good way to get a bunch of money, let me know so I can get some too. AI agents are the future, but they need to improve. I suck at programming, and AI keeps messing up my scripts. It's really nice and it works so, but I feel like it gets more clogged as you talk to it. Yeah, that's another thing on my to-do list to make some content about, is to really sit down and try some of these AI tools. Don't tell me dog who is sleeping next to me. Oh, don't tell my dog who is sleeping next to me. There are some dogs that I can tolerate. What is it? The Shiba Inu. I think those dogs are they're like pretty chill, and they don't bother you and stuff. The dogs I really don't like are the ones that are that like always get really excited and run up to you and bark, make a lot of noise, and put their nose all over you. And one time my school Chromebook failed to mount in it. I was jumping with joy, because a long time I wanted a Chromebook to have a kernel error. Well, I guess that was your lucky day. Seem like a cat person? You're cool. It would boost your channel. Yeah, some of my earlier videos, when there was a cat living here, but he's moved away. Some of my much earlier, some of my first few videos about Linux and stuff, the cat makes an appearance. Learn skills over money. Yeah, money-making skills are important. Do you use any nootropics? Those are like supposedly mentally enhancing things. No, I don't do any of that stuff. Dogs are too touchy. I like to get attention at most 10 minutes. So cats are better. Yeah, I agree. Mr. Elder, what is your recommendation for an 18-year-old wants to get into software engineering? Should get a degree are some certifications? If you want to get into software engineering, so I'd say, so if your eventual goal is to like work professionally as a software developer, having the degree, there's also questions about like where are you physically. Having the degree, like an officially recognized like software engineering degree or computer science, that gets you the ability to get like visas and stuff. I would say one of the most important things, if you do an undergraduate program somewhere, I would say one of the number one things to look at is go somewhere with a good quality co-op program. So ideally, you'd be getting work experience like early on in your career. Now that's assuming that your goal is to go into the workforce, but so like there are some people that just want to do academic work. So if you want to do like academic software engineering and work in a university and do like kind of research papers and stuff forever, then you might make more sense to just not think about the work experience. But I went to the University of Waterloo, and they have a very good co-op program that does a lot to help people actually get jobs. And I think because of that, a lot of companies go there and recruit from there because there's a concentration of talent. Certifications. There's a lot of difference in work between a degree and a certification. For certifications, I know there's certain certifications that some government agencies and stuff want you to have. I'm not a good person to really ask about what are the relevant certifications. But I know there's some specific certificates and stuff that are kind of useless, and nobody, like, if you're going to go on the University of LinkedIn and get their digital badge certification thing for some irrelevant Python programming 101 or something, and nobody cares about that. But then there is recognized, and I wouldn't do justice to list them, but I think there's a few security related ones that are actually recognized in the industry. Whose cat was it? It was roommate's cat. Great to see we have some community bonding over cats. Yep. Yeah, cats will be if I can get some server stuff implemented in this game, then I can have cats. Gonna go now. So I'm gonna wall you guys, saying I gotta go. Sudo wall. See you later. Thanks for stopping by. Highest level technical skill for the lazy, exhausted, depressed dev. Highest leverage technical skill for the lazy, exhausted, depressed dev. I'm not sure if that's about the advice, career advice, or not. One of the blocks you mine could be cat poop. That's possible. We do have the technology to implement that. I will buy it if you put it in the store. I could just add it like as a. I probably will reserve that for later in order to actually complete the feature, because there's no way to have like animated like mobs or anything to produce them. But for now, I'm going to focus it on natural mineral ores, and then once I have I think a lot more immersion on the mining, then I'll once I have the ability to add recipes, then I think I can like drip out some actual content and have like real updates instead of just refactoring for 60 days. And then while I'm releasing those features, I can be doing the refactoring stuff to add. Really, what the game needs is not even like playable. To implement a gameplay, I need more like systems in the game, like actual server side processing and things. Hi brother, love your videos. Thank you. I put lots of work into them. People should be careful of student loans. Yeah, that's becoming a huger and a much bigger thing these days. I keep seeing lots of clips come up of people whose lives are kind of ruined with not having, they're like super underwater, not paying their student loans. And I mean, that's really rough, especially when you're in a situation where you're already burdened with the student loan, and like you got an education, the education's not good enough. So now you're totally screwed. There's nothing you can do. You can't get a job to pay it off because the rate of interest is going up faster than for some of the people who are took like $200,000 for who knows what degree. I think the people in the worst position are got screwed mostly on the financing side. Like I think there's certain like the fine details of the loan terms, and also if you just happen to go to the wrong school where it's just a very bad value, those two factors together really compound to totally screw you off, screw you over. In Australia, you don't have to pay off your loan until you earn over a certain amount. I almost never earn over the threshold, so I don't have to pay my debt. Yeah, I mean, that has actually been, like I know people who, they had a bunch of student debt, and what they did with some of their loan was actually just invest it in like low risk investments, and it was interest free for a long time because the government had this program with interest free loans. So it would have been less profitable. It would have been less financially sound to actually pay it off, because basically by investing it in like dividend stocks, low risk dividend stocks, effectively that was giving like an arbitrage of the interest rate spread. If the interest you're paying is 0 and the interest you're earning is like 7%, then on $20,000 or something like that, you're earning quite a bit. And if with we live in a higher inflation environment, so if you just keep your debt and don't do anything with it, someday due to inflation, it's going to be worthless. Mr. Elder, should education be free? I'm Ugandan, and I have migrated to Europe with zero money, I try to study next year. Here is very cheap. Should education be free? Philosophically, ultimately, like the teachers have to get paid somehow. I think in the most efficient world, as much education as possible gets, the education process gets made as efficient as possible. Right now we have, YouTube is a great way to disseminate information, because you can make one YouTube video, and if that video is really good, it'll get seen by tens of thousands of people. Ultimately, the people who make educational content or who conduct courses, the faculty need to be compensated somehow. So either that has to be done by the government, which is like taxpayers. So I don't know. Somehow the system has to be made economically sustainable. But I know there are places, I think in Europe, where education is free for a certain period, as long as the education's good and the government is actually getting a return on investment somehow. Student loans are interest free here, but they do index to inflation, so they rise a little. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, here they I know they basically they stay the same. They're totally interest free, and if you there's some details there. I don't remember the exact. There's like a federal portion and a provincial portion, and they have different terms with them and stuff. But if you can just keep the loan around for years and years, interest free, then if you hang on to it for like 10 years, that's going to be almost like halving the cost of paying it off, indexed to inflation. My estate can pay my student loan when I die. I'm not paying it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are saying that. That's going to be a huge debt crisis, because there's so many people. And it's not even a question of people being irresponsible. There's so many people in the U.S. who just are like there's no way they're going to pay off their debt, and also some of them are on super high interest rates. And there's tons of incredible stories of people who just don't understand their financing. And they said they started with $70,000 in student loans, and they paid $1,000 a month or something, and then at the end of it, they said they stupidly did not check their balance for a few years, and then after years of supposedly paying it off, they owe $100 more than when they started. All the baby boomers got their degrees for free, then implemented a charge for us. I think I've actually kind of noticed there are baby boomers who got the best of things and really won in life, but there's actually a lot of baby boomers who are doing very poorly. Some baby boomers who bought a house at the exact right time are basically the ultra rich now, but there's a lot of baby boomers who just rented apartments, or if you rented an apartment and thought your pension is gonna save you and stuff. There's a lot of different ways that the older generation is also getting screwed, and I kind of think one of the government's strategies for dealing with it is going to be to try and villainize older people and like blame old people for everything because they won't be around as much longer. Hey Robert, hope you're having a great day. I'm a 15-year-old studying cybersecurity via homeschooling. Just wondering if you have any tips in general. In general, it's hard to give general tips. I can give random tips that have no specific importance. Let's see, a random tip. I guess if you haven't, so if you're studying cybersecurity, if you haven't, I have a playlist called My Favorite Linux Command, and it has like over 100 of those favorite Linux command videos on it. And if you haven't watched that, then I'd recommend you watch the full playlist. That would get you a good idea of what kind of concepts exist to learn about, which could be relevant for cybersecurity. Study is so expensive, then can't you lower the price by doing AOE teaching, invest more in distance learning? I'm Ugandan, can't afford courses in my country. Yeah, I mean, there's with the advent of online content, like you can get the information, like the lectures. I think probably even for like everything now, you can probably find lecture series online for like every concept you want to learn. Then the other aspect is testing your knowledge. So having adequate testing, which you can kind of automate some of that. But then, I mean, actually, something like ChatGPT might be able to kind of automate that process for like quizzing yourself and stuff. For those things, you would technically don't even need an educational institution. Then another aspect that I think people don't appreciate enough is just the like social aspect of learning. So like when you actually work at a company, you're working with other human beings, and there's like interpersonal things to consider. You have to be able to get along and communicate with other people. So that's one benefit of, in-person school, working together with other people on projects. Like you'll have people on projects that don't do any work, and you have to figure out how to deal with that. And then there's also the work experience aspect. So for that, you said AOE teaching. You mean like area of effect as in a video game? I assume. Ace the Doggo says, "Thanks, bro." Yeah, hopefully that's new information. I assume if you're on the channel, you may have already seen my favorite command series, but if you haven't, it's a definite must watch for someone who's into Linux. Okay, what I was going to do was try to make the UI look a bit better for the options. Is AI a bubble? I think AI is there's a phase of like, whenever you have a new technology, or even like a new business process. I think it's more it makes more sense to think about it in terms of, let's say you have a bunch of products, like let's say Walmart gets about 500 new products or something. And what they could do is, for a while, they'll just put in a bunch of orders for like, they'll order some stock for those 500 products. So basically every product, no matter how bad it is making orders just so they can put it on the shelf in the stores. And then the users, the customers, will see the product and it's a new product and they don't know how good it is. So maybe at first sales are deceptively high. But then after like a year, Walmart is going to collect data on empirically what actually sells or not. And so some of those things that maybe, they ordered a bunch of inventory, or maybe it sold for a while, the sales are going to go to zero. Because if you go to the store and you buy some cookies or something, and they're terrible cookies, you don't buy a second box. So they sit on the shelf for a while. So we're in the phase now where there's tons of money going into AI. So you can do an AI anything. And eventually, investors are going to look at the return on all this stuff. They spend all this money on data centers, and they ran their products at a loss and stuff. And now they're going to look at the data and see, okay, what makes money and what doesn't. And I think I'm 100% sure there are definitely use cases where the AI makes sense and it is profitable. So there's some of those things are going to stay, but then I'm sure there's going to be some areas where they look at it and say, like, this is like, I think some of those vibe coding things where you tell the vibe coding agent, like, please fix this number, and you're saying, you'll correct it and say, like, hey, actually 1 + 1 does not equal 3, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're absolutely right about that. And then it has to like spin up this massive cluster that's running on it's burning like 100 liters of fuel to calculate that 1 + 1 is equal to 2, or to count the number of R's in strawberry and stuff. So those are the cases where, in the long term, those cases are, those are going to get eliminated because they're just not financially viable. But then I think some of the AI art generation, clip art and stuff, that's definitely useful. I'm sure it also there's going to be areas where it will be useful for coding, but we're in the process of discovering that now. Already watched your series on Linux commands. That was quite entertaining. I was just hoping for business advice, or absolutely anything you think I'd even benefit from. Losing my voice tonight, so I'm talking so much. I guess that you asked, that's quite a few different things there. You said cybersecurity, but you also talked about business advice. I do have some business videos. Actually, I have another playlist about some of my different business stuff. If I'm not sure how many of my videos you've watched, but there's some videos. I just released a couple, actually. If you check my channel for a playlist called, I think it's software consulting or something. And then I guess the other one on Linux. If you're super interested in mastering Linux and stuff, you could maybe take a look at doing a run through of Linux from scratch. Actually, I have a video. If you search my channel for, I think the title is my failed Linux distribution. That video is that talks about my experience with Linux from scratch. LLMs are modern day calculators. I guess they're they're much more sophisticated. Someone say business advice. How's it going, Bradley? Have you got some business advice for us? Will we need universal basic income in the future? I kind of think if we ever get universal basic income, the price of everything will just go up by whatever the universal basic income amount is. Ace on the doggo says, I'm on the spectrum. Yeah, that's a common thing for people in the tech community. My business advice: business equals money equals good. Well, that's sound advice. The finger command. The finger command is my favorite finger command. Well, there's only one. Okay, for you, the Orange Man is announcing a cure for autism tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. I think I mean, unless people have unless you've got very very complex needs, it's probably not productive to go too bored and trying to self-classify and self-diagnose. You can just follow the same general instructions for self-improvement that everyone else does. I think there's social media has also created this environment where everyone feels the need to label themselves with something. Finger command is my favorite Linux command. Okay, it's a bit more consistent. All right. Okay, I'm not adding the prefix, that's why. Is social media addictive? I think so. What the hell did I join into? Imagine seeing this out of the blue. I don't know. It's to respond to that, it depends how much context you have. Are you familiar with the block mining simulation game? Is this your first day here? found this channel from the make a CPU videos. Okay. Yep, that's my most popular video. How can a person retire early in life? That's also kind of a random question. You went from, is social media addictive, to how could a person retire early in life? That's made me think like you could almost you could probably write bots now. I'm not saying you are a bot, but the disjointedness of those questions has made me think you could probably make bots that scrape content by just joining live streams and then ask people like totally random questions, and then some people answer the questions, and then you could use that. You could just make a blog. You could make a blog post out of that. How can a person retire early? You gotta have money. That's the secret. Title of the stream is interesting to say the least. Well, that's good. At least it's not boring. Learn how to get a job that will pay 2x, 3x more than any other job before you're 18. Once you're 18, you'll be ahead of everyone. Yeah, that's true if you can get into the right career path early on. Or start a business and sell it. Yeah, that works too. What building? Terminal-based video game. GNU Linux. Yeah. I worked with this guy who bought his business. It was worth $50K. But it was worth nothing. But the guy who thought his business was worth nothing, really it was worth... Oh, but this guy who thought his business was worth $50K, really it was worth nothing. I quit, and he still hasn't been able to sell it. Yeah, it depends on the business and how much it runs itself and what its cash flows are. I'm taking the OSHA 30. So I'm working on the job thing in life. 3 years till 18. Wow, there's a lot of young people here. You need to learn skills first. The money will be there. Yeah, it's also a difficult game. You gotta make sure you pick the right skills. There's so many things that you can waste your time learning these days. Like in my degree, I don't really regret. I'm kind of very interested in knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Like originally I thought about studying pure math, but then I decided to go pivot more practical. But like there's so many things, when you think about the most efficient life you could possibly have, there's so many things you learn in school that you don't actually translate into money. I'm trying to make a game. I can only vibe code. They have AI. The right games. Not sure if it's good. I think most vibe coded things are not particularly stable. They're good for getting you like close to the solution, but if you're not good at coding, it's difficult to go the last 10%. Mr. Elder, what are your thoughts on Mr. Richard Stallman? Is he a legendary programmer or overhyped? I think he's certainly a pioneer. I don't know. He's a complex character that is definitely been successful in popularizing his movement. I don't know. He's got some out there ideas, and he's called attention to some. I haven't really seen or heard much about Richard Stallman in the last few years. A job is slavery. It depends on the job. I have two degrees, no job. One in cybersecurity, it was worth it, but no guarantee of a job. Starting a business is the move. That's unfortunate. Yeah, cybersecurity. I don't know. I've seen some things to suggest that cybersecurity is also difficult and competitive. But I'm not. I've never. I don't know. I've thought before, wondered about like if bug bounty chasing is like kind of viable thing, but I would assume it would be lucrative if you could, if you knew a specific tool very, very well. That's not right. Yeah, I think if you knew a specific piece of software very well in and out, that might maybe make you very efficient and fast at finding bugs in it and collecting the bounties, but it would require a lot of deep knowledge. You have a job board thing, maybe try that. Yeah, there's lots of job boards out there. The difficulty now is, I think there's a lot of people put in a lot of applications and then they don't hear back to anything. You can get a cybersecurity degree without knowing how to code. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't notice that inconsistency. I guess I would assume if for cyber, well, it depends where you got it and what that degree entails. But I would assume most cybersecurity degrees you'd have to have there's no way you could successfully do cybersecurity without at least some programming knowledge. What do you do? What do you use to code your game? I use Vim, yes. Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, both college dropouts. That's true, but they're also they dropped out because they had amazing businesses that were taking off. They would have been silly to continue school. They had rich parents. Steve was middle class. Interviews are a waste of time. They lie to you all the time. The recruiters, you mean? I don't know. I mean, I guess an interview is not a waste of time if you get the job, but that's the problem. You don't. Sometimes you can go through a lot of rounds of interviews and not end up with the job. Digital forensics, technically, when you're of Linux, Python, and PowerShell. The rest were tools. Tools like FTK. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's that career path is one I'm not particularly knowledgeable, but hopefully you can find something. I mean, at some point, I think the tech market will have to hit rock bottom eventually, and then maybe it'll start to get easier to hire or to find work. Nice, that looks like it actually works pretty well. That's not good. There must be a bug in my... I'm not properly maintaining the data structures. You live in Far East Canada? Me, I guess. I'm in Ontario. If you guys are minors, I don't endorse anyone who's minors contacting anyone else here, because I have no way of knowing who either of you are and whether some of you are posing to be someone that you're not. What is the temperature? See, that question simultaneously makes me think you're a bot, but also not think you're a bot. Because it could be a joke, but it could also be a very, very poorly programmed bot. But who knows? Everything on the internet these days, it's all bots. Let's call the question. You want to know the temperature where I am? They were all bots. The temperature here is 1. Dead internet theory. Everyone is a bot. Yep. Yeah, if people here take it upon themselves to, connect on your own accord, that's your business. But for anyone who is actually under 18, just be aware that there are lots of weird people that show up in the chat, and some of them are some people are bots, and every once in a while there's people that I'm kind of skeptical about. So there may be people here who say that they're 15 who are not 15 and are actually 42 years old. I don't even know how to pronounce that name. That backwards N. Sorry if I am a bot. You're also a bot. I don't know, because it's like, I'm pretty sure there are real humans in the chat, but I'm also 100% confident that there are bots that come by sometimes, and then also just people that type things that are confusing. Young and old, in danger of bot manipulation. Heard of an elderly person who could barely walk, turned to meet non-existent person. Then died from a bad fall. Lured to meet a non-existent person. Wow, yeah. The internet is getting like more dangerous for basically all ages. And I think there's kind of this false perception that it's just like one specific category of person. Like, apparently young people are actually getting scammed a lot more online these days. People are dangerous. The thing is, it's not even I think it's going to get even more crazier. Like, we're literally in a world war right now. That's, well, not officially exactly yet, but things are escalating. And like, to accomplish a military objective, if you can like send a bunch of spam and convince people to like not send aid to another country or not support this or that person, then that could be one strategy for like the financial cost of like having like missile defense systems is millions of dollars, but you could save those millions of dollars by convincing the civilian population of the foreign country to not shoot missiles at your country. So there's going to be a lot of that stuff to contend with. And all this is going to be like, think about like the most advanced, like military grade ChatGPT on an industrial scale. It's I don't think the average person is not prepared for that. Real human checking in. Excellent. I have multiple non-existent people in my head. That's unfortunate, I guess. I saw the ad on this. It's from the government. I'm not sure which ad that is, but I would believe it. $37 trillion deficit and counting. Did you guys, did anyone actually see an ad? There's supposed to be no ads on this. I assume that was just a joke. I'm a technical analyst and trying to plan my next career move. I work at medical school. Thoughts? Oh, this is somewhat a vague question. A technical analyst trying to plan my next career move. Technical analyst. What do you mean by technical analyst? I would assume in a medical school, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of technology that you could analyze in a medical school. Notice your messages don't show up on the live stream. Yeah, these, I kind of just defaulted. I could put it on live chat, but then I have to moderate it more. So I decided it's interesting. It's revealing to just see what YouTube decides to censor. So if you're typing stuff and it's not showing up, it's being censored by YouTube. I've interviewed for a system admin job and data engineering. I land in this jack of all trades category. I guess they say that specialization can be how you end up making the most money. But I think we're kind of in an age where like there's a ton of people out there who have 3 PhDs and stuff, and those people are having trouble finding jobs because there's like a surplus of that category of people. Probably being a jack of trades and being more versatile is probably better now for this period of time, where things are more competitive. They just want someone who can I don't know, someone who shows up with their brain turned on, who can just figure it out. Medical school, I guess I'm not even really sure what you would do. What would be the day-to-day tasks in a medical school? The medical industry itself is horribly broken in profound ways, so I don't really know. I think there's a whole set of domain expertise that I don't have about how to navigate the broken medical system. So you'd have to figure out where is the industry going. I don't know the answer to that question. With stuff like all these healthcare companies that are using AI to just garbage AI to deny everyone medical care. I think there's going to be a reckoning in the medical industry. There's probably going to be some reform, hopefully positive. So if we can think about that, where is the industry going? And you probably know having been in that industry, you probably know better than me. I would assume they're probably going to try to use AI more in the medical, they'll talk about increasing efficiency and stuff. I could absolutely see AI being used to process intake forms and stuff and recognize garbage handwriting from doctors and stuff to get prescriptions and things. So maybe that would be an avenue of investigation. Peace out, chill stream with a tech guru who is not a creep. Have a good night. Healthcare sucks. It's true. I administer academic healthcare platforms, build SQL, Tableau reports, and ensure compliance with accreditation standards. Roll bridges IT and faculty. I guess if you have a job right now, I forget if interviewed for a sysadmin. I think if you have a job right now, things are good for you relative to a lot of other people. So I guess depending, unless you're getting like super burnt out and you really need to leave, then it probably makes sense to hang on to it. But then also if you can still be looking for better stuff, better growth on the side. But I don't know. I would imagine being inside of that bureaucracy, like if you probably have a first-hand perspective of how the medical, like the medical industry. Like if I use logic and analysis. If I sit down and think about like, the medical industry is broken. Here's how I would fix it. Here's how I would use logic to do a sensible thing. That is absolutely not what is going to happen. What is going to happen will be dictated by like government policy and law and profit-seeking motives of the vested parties. And I don't have any domain knowledge about that. So if you can leverage your knowledge of those things, what way is the policy going? Where are the jobs going to be created? And what's the most going to be the most dependable? Let's see, lots of chats about career paths, limiting the amount of doctors, and then everyone passes. I'm not joking. The standards are extremely low. Yeah, that's my understanding of the medical industry. I don't know. I'm not even sure how to fix that. It's a policy decision. Every web dev job on LinkedIn is 1,000 plus applications. IDK, how you're supposed to land a role there. Yeah, it's I don't have any specific advice for that. I think it's become easier to apply for jobs. Like the barrier is lower, so everyone is applying more, but we also have like AI spam and people faking credentials and stuff, and So that's made it harder for both the job seeker and the hirer. All right, that looks like that worked. Linux terminal makes me feel happy emotions. Yeah, it is. Once you get into it, it's just it's a very clear interface. There's not a lot of room for interpretation. Get into an organization and then try to learn from there. It doesn't even have to be a technical role. That's how I've been able to interview. Need to know someone. Yeah, I think that's true, especially now with all the AI stuff and situations like where some company, it was in the news recently that some company accidentally hired North Koreans. So I think it's not just about corruptions or nepotism. Like if you're thinking as a recruiter, you don't want to accidentally hire someone who's like faking things or. While we were advertising, we've only had 80 applications in the past week. Fully remote. Only 80. That's still quite a bit. Dad's friend has a nice offer. Awesome. Well, I'm probably going to leave it there for tonight. I accomplished what I wanted. Like I said, I didn't actually code very much tonight. Tonight was the chat was very talkative. But I think I accomplished what I need. 80's really low for such a position. Yeah, on one hand, it's to go through 80 resumes is a lot. But I could very well see it being like hundreds. But all right, that'll be it for tonight. So we'll be back tomorrow for day 152. All right, talk to you later, guys.